Pisces, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I think you are. I think you've got some opportunity coming your way. You know, sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we have a right to feel proud of what we've accomplished, of what we've done, and we have a good direction forward, and we have perhaps influence over others, but in a good way. And I think you're probably stepping into something like that now or soon. You feel it coming. But anyway, my name's Alex. I think the Oracle and I have some insightful messages for you today. I did a meditation before I turned the camera on, got some messages from the Oracle, and did an I Ching divination for you. So the first thing that I saw was someone flexing their bicep, and they were very pleased with it. They were smiling and pointing at it. And it wasn't very big, but it was nice. It wasn't bad. It was like a normal, healthy, good, strong, fit bicep, and the person was just very, very pleased with it. And then the next thing I saw was a fish flopping on the ground on icy pavement. Very Piscean. And somebody came with a snow shovel and picked it up, and then the snow shovel transformed into a snow plow, and it held the fish in the plow, and it drove very, very fast to a frozen lake. It drove over the frozen lake, and then there was a hole in the ice, and it dropped the fish into the hole. I have no idea what it means. Maybe you're quickly trying to help someone. You have a lot of resources to help for something that might be overkill. You know, the shovel would probably have been enough, but instead someone went for the snowplow. So maybe there's some overkill in something you're doing or trying to get done when, you know, slow and steady, it's okay. I know it's an emergency. It might be a fish out of water. You got to help them, and you will. You don't have to break out the snowplow. Just, you know, makes me think of that, because like driving a snowplow on a frozen lake, that's very, very dangerous. There's an old saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I think maybe you should take that to heart. Anyway, after that, I did an I Ching divination for you, and I got 8. I got hexagram 8. Brr. Or union. Sorry, my pronunciations are so bad. There's one changing line, that 5th line there, second from the top, changes to responding. And this is interesting because yesterday I did a reading for Scorpio, and they got hexagram 7, which is the one right before 8, the one right before union. It's also the inverse of union. They got multitude, and it was also changing to hexagram 2, responding. So maybe you have some Scorpio in your chart, or some strong Scorpio placements, or you're just dealing with some Scorpio energy, or there's a Scorpio around you who's important in your life. But you might want to check out that one too, because the readings are complementary. If you felt like checking that out, you might find a message in there too, something relevant for you. So union, you know, it kind of speaks for itself. It's about intimacy and closeness, bonds, familial bonds, friendship bonds. But the word also used to be a unit for a neighborhood. Every 5 households in ancient China was known as a bir. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that correctly. It's like a small community, and the head of this neighborhood, there'd be a head appointed to this neighborhood who basically managed the neighborhood like a tiny little mayor. And, well, I don't think the person was tiny, but a mayor of a very tiny neighborhood. And I think that maybe you have a good community around you, and the changing line was that 5th line up near the top, and the 5th line is essentially known as the king's line. It's like the host, you know, it's a very good spot for the yang element. That's the solid line, you know, yin and yang. And this kind of shows that you are that leader of a small community. And this is very similar to Scorpio's reading yesterday, in that you're like the right person in the right place at the right time, and you're certain to be able to influence your surroundings, because all of the yin lines, all of these broken lines beneath the yang line, they all submit to the yang line, except for that one at the top. That one is beyond your limits and doesn't submit to the leader, and you just got to let them go. And it might that might rub you the wrong way. You might want to create a very coherent group for something you're working on. Maybe it's a project, maybe it's something at work, or I don't know. But you have like a team perhaps that you're building, and you want the whole team to be together. You want all these different people involved, but maybe there's a couple of people that just aren't interested. Maybe they don't share your values. Maybe you don't share theirs, and they're really not interested in it. Well, that is the changing line in that fifth line, which makes it very important that you kind of just need to let them go. Those who bring adversity to your team, to this community, you need to let them go, cut them loose. In ancient China, they had a special hunting practice that was called driving on three sides, driving game on three sides. So people would hunt in very, very large groups, setting up nets in the forest. And they would go in a very large area, maybe a couple of miles, and put nets up in like a square shape. But I think it was King Tang who thought that would lead to overhunting and the extinction of the game. So instead they let one side free, and the animals that wanted to become game and get caught would, and the strongest and fastest would be able to escape. And so the strongest and fastest would reproduce, and the hunters would catch more than enough game that they needed. And they wouldn't overhunt, and they would make sure that the animals stayed strong and healthy, with the strongest surviving and escaping the nets. So I think this is, that's basically what that fifth changing line is trying to get you to think about, is accepting the adversity, cutting it loose. Those people that don't share your views or your goals, instead of trying to bring them together through persuasion or coercion or even force, it's only going to end in disaster. And it's best to just let them go, and don't even worry about them, and work with the people who are sincere. Welcome the people who came to you with sincerity, with a shared goal, a shared vision that already are on your page. And don't worry about trying to get the rest of the people on your page. You're just supposed to be the mayor of a small neighborhood. You're not supposed to lead everybody, at least not right now. And you need very, very strong bonds. The bonds between the people are more important than the numbers of the people. You need sincere, strong bonds within this group that you're working with. And that's the most important thing that you need to pay attention to, is a true shared vision, a true shared goal, and weak links that are lagging behind and not pulling their weight or not meeting you where you are need to be cut loose. You need to just forget them, let them go. They're not the ones for you. A smaller group of sincere people is much better than a large group of insincere people. All right. So now we're going to pull some cards for you. I have this cool divination system that I developed over the years. I have these 24 symbols on here. They each represent like an aspect of reality or an aspect of life. I'm going to spin a coin, and it's going to point at one of these things, and that will be the area of life that we'll focus on, and pull some cards for you. Oh, wow. The very, very top. Divinity. Pisces. You got to focus on divinity. How Piscean. Seeking the Most High first. So, the symbol for it, I chose the alchemical symbol of the sun. It's like a circle with a dot in the middle. It's the alchemical gold, you know, that we transform our baser nature into our higher spiritual nature. Oh, it's too many. Keep falling out. So what does Pisces need to think about divinity for? Pisces, you always think about divinity, don't you? It's a very Piscean thing. The hermit, the meditator, the monk, the priest. The one who's just ready to move on. Pisces, very, very deeply spiritual sign, the Pisces. It's very appropriate that you got this to focus on. So what does Pisces need to see? It's this top one. The Knight of Swords. So here we've got the Knight of Swords. Now, actually, the knights belong, I don't know if you study Kabbalah, but the knights belong to the sphere of Tifereth, or the sphere of beauty, which is also characterized or symbolized by the sun, by gold. So that's very appropriate. So if you do know Kabbalah, you might want to look into the symbolism of Tifereth, or beauty, the solar sphere, the central sphere that all the other spheres orbit. It's kind of like the perfect human, the archetype for the perfect human. You know, that's that Jesus energy in that sphere. And having the Knight of Swords there, focusing on divinity, is that you are ready to go. You've discovered some truthful thing. Your thoughts are clear, and you have a strong sense of direction with what you're going to do with these thoughts, with this knowledge that you have. You're ready just full speed ahead to go with it. The thing to be careful with is keeping your pride in check. That solar sphere, you know, someone who has achieved the solar sphere spiritually, psychologically, can be prone to pride. Like, look at how great I am, look at how spiritual I am, look at how smart I am, look at how wise I am. Oh, I've done all this spiritual work on myself, I'm the best. I have all these people around me who I can influence, who really like me. This is the greatest thing ever. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm bigger than Jesus, as John Lennon once famously said. And, you know, Tifereth being the sphere of that sort of Christ energy. And the Knight of Swords, he's ready to go. So it's good to have that clarity of thought and a passion and drive to gallop forward with your plan and to lead people correctly, to lead them where they gotta go. But don't let pride get in the way. Don't let arrogance cloud your judgment, because you are supposed to not only be supported by these people and influence these people around you, but you must also support them and be influenced by them. And in sincerity again, with uprightness. And I have no doubt that you will do that. You seem to have a very clear view of what's in front of you. Just, you know, use a shovel if you don't need to use a snowplow. Don't overdo it. The Knight of Swords can overdo it. He's a very fast-moving guy. If he's not looking where he's going, you could trample someone. You know, the thing you needed to help was just a little fish. Get back in the lake. You didn't need a snowplow to do that. So, you know, go easy with this project you're working on. Maybe if you're going to go full steam ahead, do so very carefully. You know, I'm not saying don't go full speed ahead. I don't want to slow you down. You know, this is the Knight of Swords after all. You're probably capable. You're probably a good horse rider. You probably are capable of going very fast. But just make sure you do it very carefully and deliberately and with a lot of awareness, and follow your intuition and go ahead in sincerity. I'm going to pull another card for you from another deck. Divinity and the Knight of Swords. What does Pisces need to know about divinity and the Knight of Swords? The sun, sphere, the alchemical gold, the Knight of Swords. Ludiere, or play. Come on, focus. Oh, it doesn't want to focus. There we go. Play. Look at that. So basically what we have here is like, you know, playing in some water. I think those are toy boats. You know, something children to play with in a fountain or in a pool or in a bathtub. And maybe maybe you're working with children. Maybe you're a school teacher. And if you have a goal for them, you gotta make sure you leave time for play. You probably have some ambitious goals for your students, and if that's the case, that's great, and you should follow through, but make sure you take frequent breaks, let them play around. You know, if you notice that they're getting fidgety or malcontented with what you're trying to do, you gotta take a break and let them play. You gotta have backup plans. You know, your lesson plans should include these plan Bs for breaking off into games. That's very important for teaching children, is making sure you need to allow time for play. You know, you can't just keep kids in lessons all day. It's not gonna be good for anybody. Not you, not them. And maybe you need to play around a little bit. Being a leader, you know, is a lot of work. People depend on you. You have to do 10 times the work as the people who are following you. At least a good leader will. And you need to make sure, as a leader, that you set a good example. And sometimes that example could be like, I need to take a break. I just need to do something that I enjoy for today, you know. I'm not going to work today. I need to look out for my mental health. And that is also part of leading, is setting an example that, like, you have to look out for yourself and your mental health and your well-being. You have to stop and smell the roses even when you're doing something important. You know, you have to sleep. You have to get enough sleep. You've got to make sure that you're well-regulated and well-balanced so that when you do the work, you don't get burnt out or frustrated or irritable and things like that. You always have to make time to play. And maybe this thing you're doing has room for gaming, for playing with the whole group that you're working with. Include them in your play if that's possible. We have like 3 toy boats here, maybe 4. It's kind of hard to see. The colors are so dark. So maybe there's like a group activity you can do. So whatever, I'm getting like a lot of teamwork and leadership thing. Like maybe you guys are like camp counselors or teachers or coordinators, group coordinators at work or something like that. Team leader. And you gotta include others in that recreation. And I think that will help bond your group together. If you can, you know, focus on something that's like maybe not even related at all to what you're working on, to work or anything toward your goals, but you need to build camaraderie and good bonds between everyone, amongst everyone in your group. And gaming is a great way to do that. Having some laughs, having some fun, maybe play some board games with them or something like that. And that always works. When I like to work with people, whether I'm in a music studio or doing some other workshop, I like to play games, tabletop games and video games, and people have a good laugh, and then when you get back to work, everyone's in a good mood and actually wind up being more productive when they get some good laughs in, and they feel like they've learned a little bit about each other in a very positive and fun way. And I think you should integrate that into whatever it is that you're doing. I'm going to pull a token for you. One last thing. I drew a bunch of tokens from my divination system, 64 little symbols. One last thing for Pisces to think about. Divinity. Oh, and you know, the divine play. In Hinduism or in Sanskrit, it's known as the lila. That's like the playful nature of God, how God isn't all business and work. God likes to see the beauty of his creation and do playful things with his creations. Carl Jung calls it synchronicity, right? The Hindus call it lila, where there's a meaningful coincidence that occurs in your life. And it's very funny. It's like, it gives you that feeling, that chills all over, where it's like, wow, that was like, it's like God told a joke almost. Something just perfectly lines up, and it's just kind of slaps you in the face as like perfect and funny and so appropriate. And you just share a little laugh with God. And so maybe you're being asked to pay attention to those little details, the way the wind blows something over, or the way you overheard a conversation that of people maybe you didn't know and it was just so relevant what they said, or anything, any little details. Just be more observant. And again, goes back to the I Ching. Focus on your intuition, develop your intuition, and learn the difference between your intuition and your own mind. And paying attention to synchronicities is a good way to develop your intuition, so you know it's not your own mind, it's an actual connection, an actual meaningful coincidence. And that hits you in the intuition. What is the last thing Pisces needs to think about today? Play, the Knight of Swords, Divinity. Let's see. Earth. Come on, focus. Come on, don't focus on me. Earth. And then number 3. Stay grounded. If you're going to have influence over others, don't let it go to your head. Make sure your goals are practical and not imaginary. Make sure they're attainable. Focus on what can be done. If something seems too out there or too unobtainable, break it down into smaller, more obtainable pieces. Break it down into its fundamental elements. Maybe delegate to different tasks to different people that can then be brought together when they're completed. So looking at the elements and the building blocks of your goal, see how you can create a process and delegate that process out so that people can work on separate things and then bring them back together. And don't lose sight of those elemental details, the fundamental foundation. And if something is too difficult to achieve, reconfigure it so that it is achievable, so that you at least achieve something, so that you don't get overwhelmed with failures and pie-in-the-sky things, or if something should fail, just think of how you can simplify it, strip it down, make it easier, and do something that can be accomplished, again, to build that bond between everyone in the group. Because if you accomplish things together, you start to build trust, even if it's the simplest thing. Any accomplishment is very, very binding. It's very uplifting, even if it's just a small, simple thing. So what's more important than accomplishing some huge end goal is to accomplish little goals together, many little goals, and that can form the foundation for your team or for your project, that good feeling that we can do this, even if it's something small, even if it's not very significant, everyone will still have the sense of we did this and we did it together. And that feeling, that sincerity, that bonding between all of you is going to be like rocket fuel that will help you to eventually achieve that main goal, because it'll bolster all of your confidence, it'll help you trust each other, you'll learn about each other's dynamics, and you'll have done something together. And those are great bonds that you can make. Accomplishing something with a team really binds those people together, sometimes for life. And it can be a really beautiful thing when you accomplish something together. And you create memories that you never forget. And the earth sphere is, it's the goal, it's the manifestation of all the spiritual spheres. They all come together to create the earth. there are all the different spheres of reality that mix together to create the earth. All these spiritual impulses and elemental impulses and energetic impulses, psychological, emotional, material, all these transcendent impulses, they all come together to create this world. This is the goal of all manifestation, of all spiritual impulse, is for this world to exist for us. And just being with that idea is going to bind your group together. They all have a part to play. You have to cherish each one of these people in your group sincerely, respect them, and trust them, and delegate to them appropriately. And you will have a great deal of success. You'll meet your goal. You'll have your manifestation. You'll manifest that end result for your project. I think that's all the oracle and I have for you today, Pisces. Thanks for stopping by. It was great to see you. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.